Welcome back to Photo Explosion Deluxe 4.0. This is part 3, and today we're going to learn about the tools on the left side. Let's open up some images. This is a quick overview of some of the tools over here on the left side. On top here we have the crop tool, then the move tool, deform tool, elastic warp tool, selection tool, and various other tools. We're going to get a little bit into these tools today. Okay, let's try this crop tool first. Okay, say you have an image. The crop tool is fairly simple. Just click on it. You can pick this size that you're looking for, and there's some presets on the side over here. Right here's an 8x10. You just click on the image, and it's going to give you a little preview of what's going to look like if you crop it to this size. And up here there's a check mark and an X. If you're happy with your crop, you click on the check, or you can just delete it and click the X. And here's a 10x8 crop. You can align your main focus points with these grid lines here. The rule of thirds. I'm not going to crop this one. I just want to show you what the crop tool does. And then we got the move tool. With the move tool you can move your layer around. Like this is the top layer right here, and I can move it around. The bottom layer is not touched. And then we have the deform tool. To use the deform tool, you're going to have to make a selection. This one here is the selection tool. You have a choice between a rectangle, a circle, or a freehand, or a polygon selection tool. And this one is the magnetic selection tool. Make a selection. Then you can click the deform tool. In the deform tool you can change the size, you can lengthen it, or you can stretch it. You can even click the control key and one of these corners here. You can move it individually. You can adjust perspective with this tool. You can enlarge or make things smaller. I'm going to undo this. I'd like to use the selection tool to deselect by selecting outside of the image. And we have the color selection tool right here. You can use this to select a specific color on your image. Then your adjustments or your changes will stay within the selected area. This is the color pick tool, and depending on which layer you're presently on, you can select from that layer, and your color palette will change accordingly. So this is the paintbrush tool, and we use it to paint on our image, foreground and the background colors. And there's many brush tips you can choose from. There's basic, square, calligraphy, all kinds of brush chips. You can even make your own, like this. You can basically create all kinds of brush tips, and you can have them in your library here. It's up to your imagination. One thing I like to do is press Alt, click on that color, and it will choose that color. And next let's go to the clone tool. Okay, this is the clone tool, and you can use that basically to copy pixels from one part of the image to another part of the image. And there's different blend types or blend modes to your brush. You can set the opacity, your brush tip, brush size, the flow. I'm going to adjust the brush options, put the hardness to 0, and the size I'm going to put it on 60. If you click the align box, it will align your pixels. What I like to do before I start cloning, I like to create another layer above the layer that I'm going to clone. Let's say I'm going to clone the eye, shift, click it, then I left click on the area I want to paint. Then since it's on a separate layer, you could move it around. So I'm gonna delete that layer because I don't want an eye there. And the next tool we're gonna look at is the Heal Patch tool. Okay, the Heal Patch tool, there's 3 tools there. There's the Blemish remover, the Scratch remover, and the Patch tool. I like the Scratch remover. Okay, the Scratch remover basically works on the texture. Colors usually remain the same. I'll sample by left shift clicking on this section here, and first I want to create a layer above the background copy. I'm going to call that Scratch remover. Okay, you can click on a section over here by shift clicking on your sample source, and you can paint over here. Make sure you use all layers boxes checked. And that brings the texture over here, but it doesn't change the color. You can move that around. Because it's on a separate layer. But I don't want that on this model. One of these other tools is the Blemish remover. You just click over something and the computer will pick automatically from another section that it thinks matches, so that you can erase different things on the image. And if you're not satisfied with where the computer picked, you can click on the sample area and move it wherever you want. And the third tool here is the patch tool. The patch tool, you have to make a selection, and then with that selection you click inside the selection and drag to an area to sample from, and the computer will bring those pixels, the texture part of the pixels, to the selected area. Just like that. I'll deselect. Next we're going to have the dodge and burn tool. The red eye tool is also here. The smudge tool, blur tool, sharpen tool, the sponge tool, and replace color tool. But we're basically going to use the dodge and the burn tool. To use the dodge and the burn tool, I believe it's best to create a new layer, then fill that layer with 50% gray. And this is the flood fill tool. That will fill your canvas with this color that you selected. Once we got it gray, we can change this to overlay blend mode. And we go back to our dodge tool. The dodge tool, we want to bring out the highlights. I'm going to bring the exposure down to 20. And I'm going to concentrate on the midtones. We basically paint where we want to brighten it to bring contrast. Lighten the areas we want to lighten, just to bring them out. It's like basically contouring. Then we'll switch to the burn tool. The burn tool will darken it. We'll put that at 20% exposure as well. We can darken the eyelashes. The eyebrows a little bit dark. Clean them up just a little bit. You basically want to bring out the contrast. And the next tool we're going to look at is the eraser tool. The eraser tool basically erases, but you got three different kinds. You have the standard eraser, the background eraser, and the flood eraser. And the flood fill tool, you can either fill your whole image with one color, or you can make it a selection and then fill that selection. And if you set the tolerance, you can paint just those pixels in the tolerance range. Just like that. And the last tool would be the text tool, where you can add text to your image. And once you have your text there, if you highlight it with the text tool, you could change your font up here. You could change the color, the size. That's basically it. I hope you enjoyed this lesson, and we'll be back soon with another lesson. Next lesson will be tabs on the right side. Please like and subscribe and click the bell. Thank you, and that's that for today.